Welcome back, Superstar. I am here with Phil M. Jones, superstar speaker, international keynoter, author of the book, Exactly What to Say, sold over 1 million copies of this book. And we're here talking about influence and impact. And before we dive into even further content, I want to take this opportunity to talk to Phil about his story. Phil, I want to know how you figured this stuff out. You're so young, you're so wise. Where does this come from? Where do you come from?
Oh man, this is a long story. Let me try and make this as concise as possible. I started my first business when I was 14 years of age.
Okay.
So I started just knocking on my doors of my neighbors, asking them quite politely whether they wanted their cars washed. A few said yes, some said no. Most just asked me how much money I would charge, which I pretty quickly realized meant they were kind of interested.
Okay.
By the age of 15, I was making more money than most of my school teachers. And we had a fleet of people in the year below me cleaning cars, and we had a fairly affluent little business. And I remember getting invited into school saying, why don't I come to class as often as I should? To which I responded to the teacher with a question, which was like, how much money do you make? And school teachers refused to tell me at the time, but I was busy taking care of customers, taking care of my team, so I kind of did my studies part-time around my businesses, even as a kid. At the age of 18, I had a dilemma, had an offer on the table for a really prestigious university in my country, in the UK, didn't want to go, wanted to get some experience in the real world. So I joined a graduate training program with a big department store retailer as the only non-graduate at 18 years of age. And then 3 months into the training program, my boss went off long-term sick. So I found myself running a £12 million department store at the age of 18 with a team of like 100, 150 people. So the beautiful thing is, at that age, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
And I just followed the clues, followed the systems, and then realized that success leaves dozens of clues if there are people you're prepared to help. And I learned that if you want to garner respect, you have to earn it.
Okay.
So what would I do is I would study what other people were up to. And instead of saying, Michelle, here's what I think you should do, I'd say to somebody else and say, I've been watching what that person's been doing. Michelle, be more like that person.
Okay.
Right? And what would happen is it would allow me to just start to be able to crowdsource brilliance through following other people. I worked through dozens of stores with that retailer. I then became head of retail for a big department store furniture group, where we helped turn around broken stores, worked through 11 stores with those folks, went from there to Premier League Soccer, was head of retail commercial director for 2 Premier League soccer clubs, securing shirt sponsorships, ticket deals, retail operation. Then built a property business that turned over £240 million at its peak. And that takes us through till about 2008.
Wow.
2008, the world kind of changed a little, right?
Indeed.
And my business had a good product on a Monday. By a Friday, we had something we couldn't give away. All of the vectors had changed against it. So we brought that business down. And while I was figuring out what I wanted to do next, small business networking groups would invite me in and say, hey, Phil, will you come speak to our people? Wow. Can you help turn around some ideas given recessionary times? So I started speaking for fun.
Yeah. Speaking
for fun became, hey, have you got some more? I built my first one-day sales training workshop in late 2008, 2009. People would say, hey, what does this cover? And I'd say, what do you hope? And they'd tell me. And then I'd add that all in to the program.
We know how that goes.
And built a coaching business that then became a consulting business, that then became an info product business, that then all had speaking attached to it to grow those.
Yeah.
Then I started speaking, then wrote first book 2012. And since then, I've now been paid to speak more than 3,000 times, worked on 59 different countries, 5 different continents, now 11 best-selling books, and get to be able to do pretty much what I want, when I want, with who I want when it comes down to work.
Well, okay, I want to go back all the way to the beginning, before 15 years old. Why did you do that? Like, what were you like as a 0 to 7-year-old? Because that's the period that I think really, I know you said, we don't know, but that's the period where I think really the stuff gets formed.
Okay.
Like, what was there when you were so young?
I mean, I'm one of 4 children.
Okay, so, are you the youngest?
And I'm in the middle of that.
In the middle.
So I'm middle boy with one little sister. And I think that created a sense of independence. But not only that, I've had a ridiculous sense of curiosity from a very, very early age. I have a belief system that says, well, if somebody else can do it, then can somebody else be me? Sometimes I find the answer is no, right? Like, I can't be a superstar soccer player. I'm not good enough. I don't have the attributes. That's not going to be me. But you'd find lots of things that you can work out. And I haven't ever suffered from too many limiting self-beliefs. I've been joyfully be able to go, well, how does that person do that? Not, wow, that person does it.
Right.
And being able to unpack other people's success story and then pull the clues from that. So I think that's been true from an early age. My first little business actually started because I wanted to buy a pair of sneakers, and my parents weren't in the position to say yes to that. So I figured out that I could find a way to be able to go make that money myself.
You know what I want to point out here for you all, our viewers that you know me, notice how the pull of desire was the first thing. You wanted something for yourself,
right,
and it wasn't handed to you, right? Which could be a disempowering story for some people. You know, my parents couldn't do this thing, so, you know, and Phil, you followed that thread of, well, I want it.
Yeah. Well, and it was even more curious than that. So actually, prior to the 14-year-old starting a business story, I wanted this pair of sneakers. And my dad said that I couldn't have the money for them. Where that then concluded after me asking a few times was he said, well, you can come to work with me. Now, my dad is a self-employed contractor, runs a small contracting business, builds small homes and loft conversions and renovation projects in people's homes. So I went to work with my dad, and what my job was that he was doing clever stuff up on the roof. All of that garbage was down in the yard in a house in London. My job was to be able to put it into the skip, which is what we'd call a dumpster here in America now. And I remember looking at the pile of stuff and thinking that the pile was like a lot bigger than the size inside the skip. So I said, like, okay, so if I fill the skip, what are you going to pay me? Dad said he'll pay me £20 if I fill the skip. And I'm like, well, what if I fill the skip and we've still got trash in the yard? And he said, well, if you fill it again, I'll get another one show up and I'll pay you £20 the next time too. So I ended up filling the skip twice in my first day at work with my dad. And then there was still stuff going on. He was up on the roof doing clever stuff and I still had time on my hands. So I knocked on the door of the homeowner and said, is there any more I can do? And they gave me some jobs to do in the basement and some cleanup to do in the front yard. And then we finished up the day and the homeowner gave me an envelope, a brown envelope with some cash in it. I remember it specifically is that it was £45 in the envelope. And I thought, oh, cool, I got paid a little extra for doing a little more. This was cool. Then when I got home, my dad gave me my wages of £40.
Wow.
So I ended up getting £85 for my first day of work. And I realized, looking back on it now, that I learned that you don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value that you bring to the hour when I was 13, 14 years of age. The sneakers I wanted were £45. My friend was traveling, in fact, to Orlando, could get them slightly cheaper because that was the dollar to the pound thing. So I now had the money for my sneakers and I had change.
Yeah.
So what I did with that money that I had changed, that's when I went and bought a bucket, a sponge, a chamois leather, some car shampoo, and went, okay, well, I knocked on somebody's door and it worked out before. What happens if I knock again? And curiosity said, well, I'll do my little street of 60 houses. And then we just kept building it out from there.
Wow, that's such a great story. Such proactiveness, and yeah, it's a great story. I love how you were thinking more. Right? What's the next thing?
Or
and
even
the next
again.
thing.
Even just again. I think...
Yeah, the optimizing of the process.
I'm playing the same game today as I was playing back then.
You are. You're like, let me do this again a little bit more, you know?
A little bit better, or raise the stakes, or play on a different field of play.
Yeah. Okay, last question, because we're gonna move into the next video. What's next for you?
I enjoy the answer of not knowing at this point. I'm very, very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Awkward challenge for me is that at 40 years of age, I'd accomplished every major business aspiration that I've had for myself. And now it's like, oh, how do I want to be spending my time?
Yeah.
Where do I want to be allocating resource towards other things? How do I show up for other people in my life? So all of my personal goals right now are linked towards how I can do a better job of showing up for others that I care about most.
Yeah, and you're a dad.
That's right.
You have children.
Yeah, I have 4 beautiful daughters.
4 daughters.
Yeah, and I'm very, very excited to be able to say, well, some of my early efforts hopefully mean that I can show up for those guys a lot better than I have done up until this point.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. We talk a lot on this channel Phil, about the connection between, in the old days, maybe, or old paradigm thinking was separation of life and work. And what I'm seeing again and again with the most enlightened people that I meet and the most successful ones that are the happiest is more integration, where it's, the work is joyful.
Yeah.
And the play supports the work, right? However that looks. Like, you travel a lot. I imagine sometimes your family comes with you.
Right.
Aren't they here with you?
They're not, but my older daughters are actually here in this city right now, and I'm using the opportunity to go connect up with them.
Exactly. So it's a beautiful thing. All right, Phil, thanks for sharing a little bit about your heart and your story.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, if you want to connect more deeply with Phil and learn more about what he's up to, you can connect with him on Instagram. That is at Phil M. Jones UK.
That's right.
And then also there's a community there, which is Exactly What to Say.
Yeah, at Exactly What to Say.
At Exactly What to Say in Instagram.
One of the places that we start in the book of Exactly What to Say is to give people some examples of rejection-free opening formulas, how they can ask people in a more persuasive and influential way where it doesn't sound so pushy, it sounds more pulley.